Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Valdez had one of the best weeks we've seen out of a big man in quite some time. He was sensational this week, not just compared to other centers, but to any other player in the country.
He gave an absolutely superb performance, Clark. He just got hotter and hotter as the week went on. His opponents threw a number of different looks at him, but he handled it all. I'm not sure there's a legitimate way to stop him right now, and we haven't even begun to talk about his work at the defensive end either. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
North Carolina State plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
And we have another upcoming contest that promises to be a classic. This is a special rivalry in college basketball. Doesn't matter what time of year it is, or even what year for that matter, when these two get together. You can always count on a fierce competitive contest.
UCLA has been playing really well for a long time, and I don't see any reason why they won't keep that up. They've got a great win streak going. Someone will end their streak eventually, but it's going to take a miraculous effort to do it, and I don't see that happening in this game.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We had a pair of top 25 teams in an old-fashioned grudge match. UCLA got the better of Arizona State.
It was a real treat to see these teams both come to play in what turned out to be a fantastic game. They showed us why they deserved their spots in the top 25. This was an entertaining and fun game to watch. UCLA played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
Although this next contest seemed predictable enough, one of the best teams in the country suffered a severe shock to the system. Rutgers dismantled Fordham.
No one could have predicted this outcome, Greg. Fordham is going to lose their spot at the top of the poll for sure after this loss. Worthy had the hot hand on the winning side. His 15 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll unveil our choices for the top 10 mid-major teams in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But first, let's take a look ahead at some absolutely huge battles coming up this week in college basketball. A meeting between a pair of top 10 teams is always entertaining, and there's certain to be plenty of action in this game. Neither side is going to give an inch in this contest. You can be sure of that.
Duke plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
But that's not the only item on the schedule that has NCAA fans buzzing. This should be a terrific matchup. Both these teams are fighting to improve their position among the nation's elite teams, and they're going to have to go through each other to do it.
Michigan State should come out on top if I had to make a prediction. Their backcourt is so solid this year, and their guards love to get out and run. That gives them a huge advantage in a game that should be as fast-paced as this one will be.
Now let's unveil our list of the top 10 mid-major teams in college hoops. These teams could probably hold their own in any of the power conferences if they had the chance.
I just love talking about the non-power conference team. This is the kind of stuff that gets me fired up for March. A couple of these teams have the potential to be very dangerous in the tournament. No one more so than the team at the top of the list.
Fresno State has a schedule that rivals that of any of the top power teams. The strength of their opponents has been just outstanding, and that's going to be a huge factor in their ability to survive in March. In playing one of the most difficult schedules in the nation, they've gotten a lot tougher along the way. There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We get things rolling with a matchup of two of college hoops' most storied teams, NC State. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our Player of the Week in college basketball.
Barron is a favorite to win this award every week, Greg, and he gets it this week. If there's anyone who doesn't consider him one of the best players in the country, just take a look at his last few performances.
He gave an absolutely superb performance, Clark. He just got hotter and hotter as the week went on. His opponents threw a number of different looks at him, but he handled it all. I'm not sure there's a legitimate way to stop him right now, and we haven't even begun to talk about his work at the defensive end either. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. The conference tournaments are upon us, and no matchup looms larger. This game is a crucial grudge match between a pair of the best teams in the Big Ten.
Northwestern would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
And we have another upcoming contest that promises to be a classic. This conference tournament showdown should have more action than a typical game between these teams in the Big East.
Georgetown should come out on top if I had to make a prediction. Their backcourt is so solid this year, and their guards love to get out and run. That gives them a huge advantage in a game that should be as fast-paced as this one will be.
Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our Games of the Week. We had a pair of top 25 teams in an old-fashioned grudge match. Indiana got the better of Michigan.
The score might not have been close, but I don't think that's an indicator of how similar these teams are talent-wise. It was just a matter of one side having an off night at the worst possible time. Indiana was going into this game looking to build some momentum, and I think they did it, Greg. This win really impressed me just in the way the players carried themselves. They looked to me like a team that could really get into a groove and start doing some serious damage to their opponents.
Although this next contest seemed predictable enough, one of the best teams in the country suffered a severe shock to the system. Arizona State outdid UCLA.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. UCLA was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Yale was the hero of this one with a terrific performance. His 17 points led all scorers. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
That's our show, everyone. For all of us here at the 2K Sports Studios, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. It is an annual rite of spring, bringing with it excitement and emotion that can be found in no other sporting event. The NCAA Tournament. Your wait is finally over, the brackets are ready, and the drama of March Madness is about to begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, and this is the NCAA Championship Basketball Selection Show, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Joining me at the anchor desk, as always, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're all set to show you the seedings and pairings, so get out your bracket sheet, get those pencils ready. Here are the basics. Of the 65 available tournament bids, 31 are automatically given to conference champions. The tournament committee hands out the remaining 34 bids on an at-large basis. An opening round game will take place on Tuesday night to narrow the field to 64 teams. But before we unveil the brackets for this season, here's a look at the final top 25 media poll of the season. The rankings look a little different than they did last week. The Baylor Bears jumped all the way from the number 24 spot to number 17.
They're peaking at just the right time, Greg. This is exactly the way you want to be playing going into the tournament.
Also, a new team has fought its way into the top 25. The Arizona State Sun Devils break into the poll as the number 21 team. It's time to talk about the topic that has a lot of players and coaches holding their breath right now, the NCAA tournament bubble. These are the 10 teams that aren't worried as much about where they'll be playing as if they'll be playing. Clark, who jumps out at you there?
East Carolina did just enough to get on the bubble, but I'm not sure they did enough to get off the bubble. There may have been a few too many bumps in the road for them.
And we have a few more teams in similar position, right, Clark?
Richmond could have sealed their invitation with a better regular season finish. But the fact is they play in a very tough conference, and that does weigh heavily in their favor.
I'm sure it's been a long week for those teams, but the wait's almost over. The NCAA Selection Committee has finished its meeting, and we're ready to unveil the top 4 seeds in this year's tournament. The Kentucky Wildcats are the top overall seed, and they will play in the Charlotte Regional. They begin the tournament as the dominant team in college basketball. They've been ranked number 1 in the media poll for the past 2 weeks. We'll soon find out if they can live up to their billing. On to the second number 1 seed, who will play in the Houston Regional. The Indiana Hoosiers are seeking their 7th NCAA championship in school history. The Michigan Wolverines are our third number 1 seed, and they'll play in the Detroit Regional. They're back in the tournament again, and no doubt they'll be feeding off the experience of last year's appearance as they try to get to the Final Four this year. And finally, our 4th number 1 seed will play in the Phoenix Regional. The Aggies of Texas A&M are in the tournament field as a number 1 seed for the 5th time in the history of their program. Now, here's how the brackets shape up based on where the number 1 seeds have been assigned. In one national semifinal game, the winner of the Charlotte Regional will play the winner of the Houston Regional. In the other semifinal game, the winner of the Detroit Regional will play the winner of the Phoenix Regional. Those games will be played on Saturday, April 4th. Then it'll be on to the national championship game on Monday night, April 6th. Anything shocking to you about those picks?
Well, when you see the selection committee deviate from the top 4 teams in the media poll, it's a little surprising. They've opened themselves up to some criticism with these picks.
So, with the number 1 seeds out of the way, it's finally time to tackle the rest of the brackets. First up, we take a look at the Charlotte Regional. The Kentucky Wildcats are the top seed, finishing at 27-6. They won both the regular season and conference tournament titles in the SEC. They will take on the winner of the opening round play-in game between South Alabama with 15 wins and Bethune-Cookman from the MEAC. And now the number 8 seed, the Arizona Wildcats, come into the tournament on the strength of a 3rd-place finish in their conference regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They're going to play the number 9 seed, the North Carolina Tar Heels, who were 3rd in their conference, finishing at 19-11. Georgia enters the field as the number 4 seed from the SEC. This will be their 20th appearance all time in the NCAA tournament. They'll be getting ready to face the number 13 seed, the Wagner Seahawks. Finished the season with 23 wins.
The Georgia Bulldogs do the one thing that all great teams absolutely must do, and that's play tremendous team defense. These guys have been shutting down opponents all year with a combination of speed, intelligence, and sheer determination. There have been NCAA championship teams of all shapes and sizes, but all of them played good, strong defense.
Brigham Young comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 23-8. And they will take on the 12th seed from the Big West, the Mustangs of Cal Poly, with 20 wins. Next up is the number 2 seed. The Fordham Rams are the conference tournament champions from the A10 conference. They'll be going up against the number 15 seed, the Winthrop Eagles, with 18 wins. This marks their 10th appearance in the NCAA tournament in the history of their school. Our number 7 seed is from Conference USA. The Alabama Birmingham Blazers were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They are going to play the number 10 seed, the Oklahoma Sooners, who were 3rd in their conference, finishing at 20-10. Wake Forest comes in as the number 3 seed, finishing at 24-10. Army comes in to face them at number 14 with 18 wins in the tournament championship of the Patriot League. The North Carolina State Wolfpack are in as the number 6 seed. They'll be taking on the number 11 seed, the Kansas State Wildcats, with 18 wins. Some of the lower seeds in this bracket have the ability to not only compete with the high seeds, but win a few games. The potential for a Cinderella or two in this bracket is definitely there. Next up, we'll take a look at the Houston Regional. The Indiana Hoosiers are the top seed, finishing at 27-8. They were conference tournament champions in the Big Ten. They'll take on the Prairie View Panthers, the number 16 ranked team. This is their 6th appearance ever in the NCAA tournament. Texas Tech comes in as the number 8 seed, finishing at 17-10. Northwestern comes in to face them at number 9 with 19 wins and a chance to make believers out of any doubters they might have. Florida State comes in as the number 4 seed, finishing at 23-10. And they'll take on the 13th seed from the America East Conference, the Hartford Hawks, with 18 wins. Vanderbilt enters the field as the number 5 seed from the SEC. This is their 30th appearance in the NCAA tournament in team history. They'll be getting ready to face the number 12 seed, the Marist Red Foxes, finished the season with 19 wins.
The Vanderbilt Commodores are going to provide serious matchup problems to any team that doesn't have depth and defensive ability at both guard spots. They have outstanding backcourt play at both ends of the court. It's the main reason they've made it this far, and they're going to have to maintain that form if they want to do some damage in this tournament.
Our number 2 seed is from the ACC. The Clemson Tigers were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They're going to play the number 15 seed, the Eastern Illinois Panthers, who came in 1st in their conference tournament, finishing at 16-13. Next up is the number 7 seed. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights are the conference tournament champions from the Big East. They'll be going up against the number 10 seed, the Penn State Nittany Lions, with 24 wins. They return once more to the very familiar surroundings of the NCAA tournament. The Southern Miss Golden Eagles are in as the number 3 seed. They'll be taking on the number 14 seed, the Princeton Tigers, with 18 wins. And now the number 6 seed, the Villanova Wildcats, come into the tournament after finishing 2nd in their conference during the regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 11 seed, the Cincinnati Bearcats, who were 3rd in their conference, finishing at 19-13. There are going to be some incredible matchups in the later rounds of this bracket. If the top seeds can avoid the early upsets, we can look forward to some real heavyweight battles. On to our 3rd bracket of the day. Let's take a look at the Detroit Regional. The Michigan Wolverines are the top seed, finishing at 27-5. They were winners of the regular season championship in the Big Ten. They'll take on the Gardner-Webb Bulldogs, the number 16 ranked team. This is their 3rd appearance all time in the NCAA tournament. Our number 8 seed is from the SEC. The Florida Gators were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They're going to play the number 9 seed, the San Diego State Aztecs, who came in 1st in their conference tournament, finishing at 23-9. Baylor enters the field as the number 4 seed from the Big 12. This will be their 23rd appearance in the NCAA tournament in school history. They'll be getting ready to face the number 13 seed, the UNC Greensboro Spartans, finished the season with 22 wins.
The Baylor Bears have more to prove than any other team in this tournament. They haven't had a lot of experience in the tournament recently, so it's difficult to say exactly how they'll handle it. They've shown they're capable of playing with the best teams in the nation during the regular season. Now they need to show they belong with those teams come tournament time.
The South Carolina Gamecocks are in as the number 5 seed. They'll be taking on the number 12 seed, the Drexel Dragons, with 19 wins. Duke comes in as the number 2 seed, finishing at 21-8. Montana State comes in to face them at number 15 with 15 wins in the tournament championship of the Big Sky. Next up is the number 7 seed. The Alabama Crimson Tide have established themselves as one of the best teams from the SEC. They'll be going up against the number 10 seed, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. With 20 wins, they return once more to the very familiar surroundings of the NCAA tournament. And now the number 3 seed, the Boston College Eagles, come into the tournament 6th in their conference during the regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 14 seed, the Missouri-Kansas City Kangaroos, who came in first in their conference tournament, finishing at 18-10. Oregon comes in as the number 6 seed, finishing at 22-9. And they take on the 11th seed from the A-10 conference, the St. Louis Billikens, with 19 wins. Looking into the future a little bit, this bracket looks poised for a titanic matchup in the regional final. If the top 2 seeds can take care of business in the first 3 rounds, we have the possibility of a classic Elite 8 meeting. And finally, let's have a look at the Phoenix Regional. The Aggies of Texas A&M are the top seed, finishing at 25-8. They were winners of the regular season championship in the Big 12. They'll take on the Youngstown Penguins, the number 16 ranked team. This marks their 7th appearance in the NCAA tournament in team history. Next up is the number 8 seed. The St. Bonaventure Bonnies are the regular season champions from the A-10 conference. They'll be going up against the number 9 seed, the West Virginia Mountaineers. With 20 wins, they return once more to the very familiar surroundings of the NCAA tournament. Arkansas comes in as the number 4 seed, finishing at 23-9. Buffalo comes in to face them at number 13 with 16 wins in the tournament championship of the MAC. Arizona State comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 25-9. And they will take on the 12th seed from the Missouri Valley Conference, the Illinois State Redbirds, with 19 wins. Michigan State enters the field as the number 2 seed from the Big Ten. It's yet another appearance in the brackets for a school that's no stranger to the NCAA tournament. They'll be getting ready to face the number 15 seed, the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders. Finished the season with 14 wins.
The Michigan State Spartans have been here before and know how to win in the tournament, so they have a very good chance to go a long way. The memory of their last trip to the Final Four is still fresh in their minds, and you can't put a price on that kind of experience, even for the guys who were just watching from the bench last time around. I think that gives them a huge edge.
And now the number 7 seed, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, come into the tournament first in their conference during the regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 10 seed, the Charlotte 49ers, who were semifinalists in their conference tournament, finishing at 21-10. The UCLA Bruins are in as the number 3 seed. They'll be taking on the number 14 seed, the Utah State Aggies, with 18 wins. Our number 6 seed is from the Big Ten. The Purdue Boilermakers were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They are going to play the number 11 seed, the Santa Clara Broncos, who came in first in their conference tournament, finishing at 23-11. It's the first question every Selection Sunday. Which is the toughest bracket? Well, this bracket looks to me like it wins that prize this year. Not only are the top seeds strong, the lower seeds can be dangerous as well. What are your thoughts on our top 16 seeds, Clark?
Maybe I haven't agreed with the selection committee every year, but I think they did a great job this time. The top 16 look just about right to me. Boston College has some flaws that are going to keep them from being a dangerous team in that number 3 position. There are usually some Final Four contenders among the 3 seeds, but I'd look elsewhere this year.
Now, let's bring the conference picture into focus. The ACC gets 7 teams. The SEC with 7. 6 out of the Big 10. The Big 12 gets 6 teams.
What a down year for the non-power conferences. We're used to seeing at least one of those conferences compete on the level of the power conferences, but not this year.
It's too bad we didn't see more small conference schools in the tournament. None of those conferences got more than 1 team in the tourney, and I don't expect any David and Goliath stories out of the teams that did get in.
I'm surprised there were so few bids for the teams in Conference USA. It was an especially disappointing year for that conference. Usually you can count on a few of the nation's elite teams coming out of there, but this was a season where very few of those teams could maintain any type of positive momentum.
Here's the list of the teams that were on the bubble heading into Selection Sunday. So, partner, which of those invitees should be sending the selection committee a thank you card?
Cincinnati got rewarded for having the toughest schedule of any of the bubble teams. Strength of schedule is always going to be a tiebreaker for the bubble teams, and it definitely swung the committee in their favor.
While they start prepping for their first-round games, the 5 teams on the other side of the page will be full-time students again.
Probably.
All right, Clark, now that we know all the teams and matchups, time to get the tournament underway and let the madness take over.
Greg, it's going to be a fantastic tournament. We've got an outstanding field and a lot of sensational players. I guarantee there are some memorable moments soon to come.
For my partner Clark Kellogg and for all of us here in the 2K Sports Studios, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for joining us on the NCAA Selection Show, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy all the excitement of the NCAA tournament.